My apologies, love. I was sitting here talking and the mic wasn't on. What's up, my loves and fellow creatives? I hope you're ready for this class today. We're going to be creating a floor wrap design, and I'm going to be going over not just how to flip the design, but more also the formatting, how to make this something that can quickly change from a floor wrap to a menu and also an invitation or a welcome sign. So the principles that we're using today are to construct the basic design, and then we'll be taking those elements and switching them out so that it fits like a 5x7 versus a square. And I'll also be giving you all some tips and tricks on what it takes to print this type of stuff and why we're designing it this way. All right, so without further ado, let me go ahead and get into this. Let's go ahead and the first thing I want us to do is to have a color palette. Traditionally, if you're going to be working with an event or an event planner, they're going to be giving you what the colorway will be. So I want everybody to come with a set of colors. And if you don't have any colors, what I want to do is I want you to put in, we're going to stick primarily with wedding today. So I want you to put in summer wedding colors. And if you put in the word palette, it usually will give you a set of colors too. But I just want, even if it's not a palette, I just want you to know you can use any type of image for inspiration. Let's see, I want to do something bright because I have something kind of pastel-y right now. So I'm going to choose this bouquet right here. It doesn't have to be a color palette. However, if you put the word color palette here, let me go ahead and open that in a new tab just so I can show. And it doesn't have to be a summer color palette. You can do winter or fall if you know someone else has something coming up. And then that way it gives you an opportunity to kind of see. And these are colors that we're already working with here. That's why I started with those. But let's see if we go into a fall color palette or winter. All right, cool. I see some rustic colors, some olive green, golds. Those are popular. A lot of the reds and oranges are popular in the fall. I even see them mixing a little bit of the navy blue with it. So I'm going to go, this palette here looks pretty popular. So I'm going to go and I'm just going to save this as an image. So I'm going to save image as and just save it right here inside of my 278 folder. All right, and then I'm going to use this for inspiration as I bring it in. Now, I want you to have a primary and a secondary color. And the reason why is because I want you to stick to mainly changing out two colors, and you'll see that there is a third color that you can add in there as well. And then also you can kind of do a variation of a color, like for instance, the orange here and the darker and lighter orange kind of play off of one another. So you may have the similar flowers with similar colors. It's called monochromatic. So orange is monochromatic, and then you have the neutral tone here, and then the green. And then you also have like, it's probably a little bit of pop of that burgundy color. All right, so let's go ahead and take the same idea here. We're going to go to the very top up here on top of color number 1, and we're going to go File and then Place Embedded. And I'm going to go ahead and place that fall color palette here. And I'm going to pull it off just so that I can use it, but I don't want it to cover everything up just yet. And like I said, I want you to pick what your primary colors are going to be here. So for this one, I'm going to choose my primary color as the burgundy color here. So I'm going to use my color picker to pick Color number one, I check over here on my swatches. You'll see that it loaded up here. And then gold is kind of already in here. I also have an ivory kind of built in as a third color. Usually if you have white, black, gray, silver, and gold, those are considered like your neutral colors. I don't even bother making that a part of my color palette. However, if I have the primary, secondary color here would probably be like my navy blue and my burgundy color. So those are the two that I'm going to choose here. All right, and then I'm going to go into color number one. I like to duplicate this just so I have a backup color here. I'm going to choose my, and it's not even really a burgundy color. It's really like a deep kind of mauve color. All right, so that's one, and then color number two. I'm going to duplicate the layer here. I'm going to go with the navy blue. And I also wanted to explain to you why we're doing this because I want you to know if you're doing something large format, like a floor wrap, like a really big backdrop or banner, AI is wonderful for creating these beautiful frames. I created this frame in AI. We will be doing that on Tuesday. I'll be showing you all how to create your own AI artwork and just giving you some examples here. This was all created with AI as well. Same concept there. Let me go ahead and show you. Okay, so not only are we going to create the frames are for reference to give us ideas. We can upscale those frames. They look nice printed, like maybe poster size, but when you start to print them out the size of a floor wrap, which could be a 20-foot by 20-foot, they can get extremely pixelated. And I mean, even if you take them into your upscaling software, like I showed you all last AI class, last Tuesday, I showed you how to bring it into Topaz and upscale it. It's still likely going to be very pixelated for the purpose of doing a floor wrap. So in that case, what I would suggest that you do is kind of get the ideas of the different plans from here. This is what we're going to do in AI class. We're going to make our combination frames, and then we're also going to make the individual components so that we can essentially build out our own frame. And then we're going to build some rooms that we can showcase our floors in on Tuesday. So then that way we have something to mock up and something to really give presence to the floor designs that we're doing. So that will be a lot of fun. So make sure that you're there Tuesday for AI in Action class. All right, so that's just there for reference, just to show you. If I were to zoom into this, just imagine this printed is beautiful, but just imagine that this is printed large scale. You're going to see all of these artifacts and it's not going to look so clean and nice. From far away, it will look fine, but up close and personal, somebody that's spending, tens of thousands, possibly even over $100,000 on an event, you want to give them as quality graphics as you can get. Most time it's going to be vector, but if you're using bitmap images like this, we have to maximize our images. All right, so I just did color number 1 and 2 here. Now what I'm going to do is start at this 0-1 level. The reason why I'm having you all do this is because it is going to be quite a bit of work to do this. I'm going to go ahead and turn off everything except for this top layer right now. And I need to move all of this to the top. And don't worry, you won't have to do this. This will already be done. All right. So if you can see here, I'm going to start with the very first flower, and make sure before you start, and I should have done this myself, I should have turned off generate my image assets just while I'm getting started on these first few flowers, because it does take a little time. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'll leave it on just so I can see how laggy it is, because it will allow me to change out my colors here. Now, I'm not working right now on changing the colors because it's already kind of got a system for me. What I have to work on is changing my levels, because I have this darker color. Before I had more of a pastel color. This time I'm going to do more of a darker color here. So in that case, I'm going to right click and I am going to, oh, actually, let me just come down here to my adjustment and I'm going to add a levels. I'm going to turn off my previous levels. And then for this one, I'm going to double click. And if I want that color to be a little bit deeper, I'm going to shift the midtones here to get more of the color that I want. And I can go darker or I can go lighter. I can even take down some of the highlights and I can also take down some of the shadow if I don't want it to be so dark. I can remove some of the darkness in the shadow. But right now I'm just going to kind of give it a generic dark feature here. And then when I'm done with it, I'm just going to close it out and start on the next one here. Same thing, I was working with pastels before, so I'm gonna create a new levels. Now you won't have to create a new levels. I'm gonna have a dark one and a light one here for you. I'm just showing you what I do, so then that way, if you ever see something that has light levels, you know how to go in there and create your own levels and manipulate it. All right, now this one, if you wanna take down the highlights a little bit, like let's say it has a little bit too much white in the highlights, you can come here to the white and pull it down just a little bit. And it will not allow the white to be as prominent. And of course, you can do your adjusting accordingly. This is just for demonstrative purposes, so I can show you all better than I can tell you how learning these advanced techniques in Photoshop are going to really enhance how you use AI artwork and also how you design. Okay, so this next one is another red. Now what I can do here, since I've already created a level for the dark, now what I'm going to do is just alt click and drag it down here, turn off the lighter levels, and then that's all that I have to do for the remaining flowers here. And as I stated, you won't have to do that. What I did also for the fourth flower is I added a third color, which would probably be more of a neutral tone. So just depending on whether you're doing like an off-white or a sand type of color, if you're going boho chic, maybe even adding a little brown to this area, or if you're going stark white, like a white, like pure white flowers and roses, you can change that color to white. But this isn't a smart color. It's just a regular old dumb color, but it will help you in giving like a little bit of dimension to your flowers because you don't want to just have two colors. All right, and see how this one, when I put the dark there, it made the color a lot darker. I'm going to bring back my light because I do want this one to have an off-white color and not necessarily a stark white. All right, so now I'm pulling in that same darker levels to each of these, and this is taking just a little bit more time than I want with the asset generation running in the background, but at least it does show you what you're going to be up against whenever you leave that on. All right, and now I'll also show you what's going on and why it's taking this long. Rose number 3. I want you to check and see the reason why it's taking so long. You see, every time I make a change, it's automatically generating every little bit of what I need to propagate all of these pieces. So what happens here is makes it so much easier for us to do all of the different ways that we're going to design with this. There are a lot of ways that we're going to use this even inside of Canva. For instance, when you're doing a lot of your print programs and that sort of thing, Canva is much easier to use for that because Photoshop is not really a desktop publishing software, which means that, yeah, you can create some really cool cover art and some of your elements. But if you're talking about having pages and pages and pages of text and that sort of thing, it's actually easier to use it inside of a program like Canva, or there's a program in the Adobe suite called InDesign, which is designed to basically lay out pages of documents like a newspaper or a yearbook or a funeral program and that sort of thing, which this template can be used also to do a nice funeral program, especially for those that don't like to put the photos, or even if you want to put the photos, you have the option to do that. Okay, so like I said, this is what's taking us so long too, is propagating these images. I'm going to show you what we're going to use these for in just a little bit. I just want to go ahead and get through the different versions here. And then, like I said, I already have the light and the dark version for you created. So the dark version is already there for rose number 1. And then finally, we have rose number 2 to do the dark version of it. Beautiful, beautiful. And for the baby's breath, usually the baby's breath is going to be a lighter color, but they also dye baby's breath. Just make sure that it makes sense for the design that you're doing. But it's basically just like a little accent flower. All right, so the baby's breath can get really, really dark, but I'm gonna keep the light and white color because I think it adds a little bit of contrast, especially with the dark color. And you'll notice on here, in order to change the baby's breath, you have to go into the hue saturation blend mode that I created for you, and you have to change the cyan color and the blue color. So instead of master, you go into cyan and blue, and you can make it pink, purple, green, whatever you want by shifting the greens and the cyans. But right now, I'm going to keep it white just because usually baby's breath is white. That's going to be your most common color. And the least that you have to go in and change anything, the faster you can move. All right. So now I'm just turning off these other ones, the eyeballs form, at least for right now. You also have the opportunity to change the colors of the leaves. I suggest you stick with it as is. I just have provided a little bit of color grading here so that it makes it a little less bright green, but I can turn those off so that you can see the leaves initially are very, very green, but I've shifted the hue a little bit. I've taken down the saturation, so this is a hue saturation. You can see here, we just have. And then what I've also done in addition to that, I changed the levels. So I got a little bit softer color for the leaf. So if you just leave those alone, you don't have to worry about for class. We're just going to leave the leaves alone. And we're going to focus on changing out the rest of the design. All right, so that was the hard part. Just going in here. And we don't want to resize anything that's in here. This is just kind of like our initial change bank here. So we're going to change our initial flowers, and you see they went from pink now to the blue and the burgundy colors. And we're going to pull a little bit of gold in there with the frame here. All right, so once we do part one, that was the hardest part of part one. We're going to come into part two. And part two looks kind of cool. It's kind of like a cheat sheet. So these are all, and we're going to make sure we have the move tool selected here. And we're also going to select auto select. So what this allows us to do here is very quickly change out the flower. So I'm going to go to the peony number one. And you'll see that we have a peony one. And what you're doing is you're just going to drag and drop it right onto place there. And then you're going to delete the image underneath it so it doesn't make your file so large. And you have to go in order on the layer. So although we started up here, color number 1 and 2 will automatically change. We're going to go straight down this line here, okay? So I showed you all this before, and the reason why I'm showing you all this again is because when you're doing some of these large-scale graphics and graphics that can be used over and over again, I want us to get used to having a system to how we design. Uh-oh. Didn't want to do that. All right, so now we are looking for, I'm looking at the tab up top that says PNE 02. So I'm looking for PNE 02. And just a cheat code, 02 and 01 are normally going to be color 1 and color 2. So I remember that my color 1 is the red and the color 2 is the blue. So if I see my PNE and I see a blue, not that it's always going to be that way, but it's just a really quick way to change it out. Now I am on PNE 03. I see 3 right here. Drag and drop it like it's hot. Delete the layer underneath. Let's close out. Hit yes to save. And for Freebie Friday, if y'all join me on Freebie Friday, I'm going to be showing you all how you can utilize these elements inside of Canva too. So that if you're doing your desktop publishing or your programs and that sort of thing in Canva, you're going to be able to utilize all of these assets that we're generating in order to make some really cool stuff in Canva as well. All right, so now I'm on to my roses, and this is going to be my rose number 01. So I'm looking for rose 01. Delete the one underneath, hit yes to save the changes. And now I'm on to rose number 2. Now I can go a little bit faster now since I believe we all got the gist of it. Rose number 3 and 4, I didn't change the colors of them, but I can just check and see. And let me pull my rose up so I can see my rose and my peony. So, and actually peony came before the rose. So I'm going to put my peony here. And the reason why I didn't put them in alternating colors, because I want to know that these are my neutral roses. So either I'm going to go white, tan color, or some type of ivory color with those. If you're doing like black flowers, you might even want that to be like your black flower, depending on, if you're doing some really cool kind of abstract design. So let's see, I got my staple colors there. I'm going to leave those alone. My baby's breath, I'm going to leave my white there. And I'm going to leave my leaves this kind of soft green color. Like I said, if you want a really punchy green, you can go in there, make it punchier. You can make it darker green, like a hunter green if you want to. Same process here. You would change the color of the leaves from the main level like we did the roses, and then you would replace each of the leaves. So if you leave the leaves alone, You don't have to recolor all of the leaves. So hint, just let the leaves be. All right, so now what I can do here is I should have inside of my folder, it should have recolored my flower combinations, my bouquets, okay? Do y'all see that automatically it made my bouquets? Cool stuff, cool stuff. So it made flower number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now I'm going to go down the line and I'm going to go to flower number 1. Y'all, I have been designing for events now. So my whole objective while I'm designing for events is to show you all how I'm making at least $1,000 designing for events. Okay, I'm going to tell you all the actual business side of it later, but the design side of it, if you can get the design first, and I'm not talking about actually running the events or planning the events, I'm talking about just for designing. Okay, so if you can follow these simple steps that I have here on the screen, you will be able to afford the classes, you will be able to afford the challenges, you will be able to afford the Automizer and all of the resources that are going to help you to invest and grow your business. You'll be able to afford that stuff. I promise you. Just putting the work out there is going to help you with those steps. All right, so I'm going to flowers number 4. And flower 4 should not have changed, but just in case, I'm going to drop it like it's hot in there. Make sure. Flowers 4. And see how that one didn't change because I did not change my neutral color. Cool, cool. And we haven't even seen the design come to life yet. We're literally just systematically going through this process right now. We're going to change flowers number 3. And also I can sort by the name. That way it always puts it alphabetically. So then that way now I'm looking for flowers 3 and flowers 3 is right there. Awesome, awesome. Delete the one underneath. Okay, okay, we're getting somewhere. Okay, now we have not changed the monogram yet, and I have not changed the frame yet. So we're going to hold tight right now because these are going to be some of the final steps that we do here. But what I can do in this moment is I can go ahead and close this folder, turn this off, and I want to see what my square foreground looks like. Do y'all remember that it was peach and pink before, and now it's my fall navy blue and burgundy color scheme? Isn't that cool? And I'm like I said, on Friday, I'm going to show you how you can use these elements also, bring them into Canva, make a lot of the change out stuff. Like, you're going to be changing out the name cards and the menus and things like that. Y'all, I don't even, I got to get ready for class because I'm late for class today. I'm going to be teaching class tonight. Y'all keep Coach Chrissy in your prayers. She is getting everything together. She finally got her electricity back, still battling with FEMA as far as everything over there in Houston. But she will have her internet and everything up. I gave her this week off because I want her to just get herself together, get her mind right, rest a little bit. It's been difficult. So on top of that, your girl is late helping y'all design this fabulous large format setup here. All right, so that's the square one. I also want to show you have kind of 5 by 7. I'm going to turn off this color palette here, so that we can see it makes a cool 5 by 7 as well. 5 by 7 is probably what you're going to be doing for menus, invitations. It also can shrink down to a 4 by 6. So the idea here is that you already have these elements ready to roll and ready to make you lots of money on lots of different things. All right, so I'm going to go into the foreground square because that's our primary one, and just showing you that you have 2 monograms here. Okay. You have a script monogram, and then you have a serif monogram. So you can choose whichever one you want. You actually do both. So you can change the text here. Like, this is the only thing we're doing right now, because when you're doing this type of printing, you're going to do your typing in your words more than likely in your publishing program like Canva. So if you're making a program and the menu and the table cards, it's going to have everybody's names on them. More than likely, you're going to do that in a program like Canva and not in Photoshop. So we'll talk about that on Friday. All right, so let's see here. Oh, actually, we're going to talk about it next Friday because this Friday we're talking about family reunion. So we go back 1 week on the Friday. So yeah, so y'all have to wait till next Friday for me to show you the Canva on this one. We got to do the, but I'll still show y'all some Canva on Friday. If y'all like the Canva, y'all seem to like it last Friday, so I'll show you some Canva again. Let's see here. So initials, you got your ampersand sign in here too. You may or may not want to use that. I'm going to turn one off at a time. So you can double click on the T and change out the initials. And then you may just want to put one initial. So instead of the S and J, I'm going to duplicate the layer, turn those off. So it's still my script here, but maybe I'm just doing the last initial. So I'm just going to do W. Now, in order to make sure that it's all by itself, you're going to want to do Control A and then skewer it down the middle and skewer it down the middle vertically and horizontally. Now that W is right smack dab in the middle. All right, so I do Control D to deselect, and y'all check this out. Inside of my magic folder, guess what? So we have our S and J there. And then I'm saving right now. And as I'm saving, I should have a foreground for my square here. Let me give it a moment. And then because I changed my script monogram here to a W instead of the S and J, I didn't change the serif, I just changed the script monogram. Then what I want to do is go back up now to replace my assets. So I'm going to leave S and J together because maybe S and J are the for the serif monogram, maybe S and J are the first initials, and then W is the script monogram for the last initial. I'm going to double click on the script monogram, and you see my script monogram has changed. I'm going to delete that one. Yes, to save the changes. And the frame will stay gold. Now, if you want the frame to be a different color, like let's say, for instance, you want the frame to be silver instead of gold, then you would go back to the initial folder, the 01 folder, because this is where we do our main primary color changes in the 01 folder. We're just going to, 01 is the first thing that we do, change colors. So let's say, for instance, I wanted to change the color of the square frame. I'm going to do something simple here. I'm going to put a black and white layer in front of it. Then I'm going to create a clipping mask. And then just in case, if you want your color to change based on the smart colors, I can even make the frame change based on that. Let me give y'all that option. And I'm going to grab the colors from the background. And while I'm doing that, while I'm showing you how to change the frame color, let me show you that you can also change the background. So right now I have this kind of nice soft ivory color in the background, but you can choose to use your color 1 and color 2 here. And then you also may want to change the levels here. Right, so right now it's got like a really soft color going on here, and then I can change my level so that I can make it darker. Right now, the opacity here is at 35%, but if I want it to be darker, then I can increase it and see how now the navy blue and the burgundy color are appearing darker. But for me, I like if it's gonna be the floor wrap, I like the idea of having just the light color or even just white being the main background color. So I'm gonna turn back on my levels here, my levels adjustment that gave lighter color there. And here, instead of this off-white color, I'm gonna pick more of a clean white color just to show you what that looks like. Because more than likely, that'll be a good one to have already built in. And I'm put just a little tint of color there, just so it's like very slightly off-white. If you want it to be stark white, then you can just put the white color. And honestly, that saves you a lot. Here, I'll show you what it looks like with white. It saves you a lot of money on, well, not a money. If you're printing this yourself, it'll save you a lot of money on ink. If you're having someone else print it, they're going to charge you the same amount no matter whether you use white or not. So it really doesn't matter. Okay. And that's what it looks like on a black. This is what happens when we bring the levels back. And then that way it's not just a stark white, it is more of a kind of concrete looking white. All right, and my whole point of doing that is that I was going to bring these colors up here for you all to change your frame. That way you don't have to do that later. And then you definitely want to have a levels on here as well, because anytime you're changing colors, the levels matter so that you can get either a darker or lighter color. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on the blue just to show you what that looks like. And then I also need to, let's see, I'm going to change my blend mode. Make sure my blend mode is on color. You can also change your blend modes depending on what kind of effects you want. I'm just putting it on color here. And then I'll bring my levels on top. I'm going to change it to multiply. See why I'm not previewing it right now. I may have something on top of it that is blocking it. So let me see. I'm just checking my folder here to see if I am producing my frames anywhere. And while I'm at it, let me go ahead and save. All right, so there's my foreground there for the square. Then I should have the serif for my foreground for the 5x7. I'm going to change my frame right now so it doesn't have to be gold. Oh, I know what I have to do. I have to group this again because my layer effects apply only to the group. Okay, and see, this is how I'm going to get the frame to be navy blue. And now in order to get it to change the color accordingly, I'm going to put the name of the group here. All right, so if I want to go, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit to see what it looks like with the blue frame. I like the gold because I believe that it's pulling in that metallic element that I want. But you can also recolor this. You can also multicolor it just like we did the background. See how now I've got it colored. And for this one, because the background is one way, I'm going to do this the opposite way. And then that way the frame will be opposite just in case you decide to color the back and the frame, at least they will be opposite. So it'll stand out a little bit. I wouldn't suggest it. I suggest you doing the contrast of the gold or silver, but this at least gives you that opportunity to see what it looks like. And then what I'll do, I'll go ahead and do this to the 7 frame as well. So I have to group it, rename one. And then I'm gonna take all these pieces here, one here, drag it on top, create a clipping mask. And now your 5x7 frame will have the opportunity to change colors too. But like I said, I'm going to stick with not changing the 5x7 frame because I really like the gold look. And I'm also going to choose the gold for the square. But at least I just wanted to have that option in there for you. And it looks like it did not listen to me when I held down Alt and clicked and dragged. So I'm going to do it one more time. All right, y'all. So like I said, I'm running late, but I'm going to go ahead and get this uploaded. So we're going to start class at 8:30 instead of 8 o'clock. That way it gives you some time to download this. Also, while you're downloading and while you're waiting for your download, go ahead and find your color palette. At the beginning of the live, I showed you all how to go onto Google and to get your color palette. So look, fall, spring, winter, neon party, whatever you want to do. I just want you to find a color palette that already exists so that we can borrow the colors from the color palette in order to pretend like this is a wedding someone's asking you to design the floor wrap and the other elements for, so that you can get accustomed to showing them an example of this work. They don't know that it pretty much takes 5 minutes to flip this. They think that it takes a lifetime. So you let them think that. Meanwhile, you just work on being prepared and having your resources. All right, so one final look. I'm going to take a look inside of my folder, make sure that I have everything that I need. Boom, boom. I have my square. I have my 5x7. I have all of my individual components. I have my bouquets together with the leaves. Those are ready to go. And I even have my individual elements so that if I needed to, I can take those individual elements and have those for rebuilding some things inside the Automizer, which I will show you all not this Friday, but next Friday. That gives me a little time to see how you all are utilizing this, gives me a little time to talk about the project as it involves doing a big project with one design. So this Friday, we're going to be talking about family reunion, and next Friday, we will go over the project and the bundles and the atomizer and using Canva for this 278 design. All right. So listen, I appreciate you and I love you dearly. And until next time, bye.